Connection. Please be sure to close your office door, turn down your music, plug in your headphones. You're not going to want to miss any of this important information. Grab a piece of paper and pen. We'll be ready to start in just about 5 minutes. While we're waiting, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Give us your first name and where you're from. Thanks.
So for today, I think we can just move through the music, if you don't mind, Ryan.
Sure.
It seems like we got a couple of minutes late, unfortunately, due to the Hangouts.
Right on. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Johnson. I'm the Partnerships Manager at the Tech Connection. I'll be moderating today's discussion. We only have about 1 hour for this call, and we want to make sure you all have an opportunity to ask your questions, so we're just going to hop right in. We have turned on the Q&A feature in the Hangout, so please use that to ask any questions you may have. Before we get started, I just want to thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to chat with us. Have you ever had a hard time getting a tech candidate to respond to your emails? Have you ever wondered how to make your company stand out to a techie who receives several recruiter emails in one day? Our goal is to help you better understand what your tech candidates think and feel when they are applying for your organization. Much of this talk will be particularly focused on technical applicants and methods that your organization can use to encourage applicants to apply. We've all had times where we want an applicant, but in a competitive market, it's really tough to get their attention. Today, you'll learn how tech recruitment differs from other recruiting, how to gain the interest of a software engineer, how to make your company stand out in a quick email, and interviewing questions you must ask. Building an all-star team is something our guest speaker, Melissa James, CEO and founder of the Tech Connection, has done time and time again successfully. Melissa has a strong track record of building high-performing teams for elite companies such as Google, RA Capital, Teradata, and Sample6. Melissa possesses a strong passion for recruitment and is an essential player in recruiting. She built amazing recruiting processes that are scalable and focused on leveraging the right tools to allow us to secure top talent in a competitive marketplace. In short, Melissa has helped businesses go from early startup days to high-growth organization. Melissa has been recognized as a woman on the move by Boston Business Journal. She recently received the U.S. Presidential Service Award for her relentless commitment to the community. She started her work at a small startup company and was later asked to work in Google's people operations as a technical recruiter, and noticed that she had trouble with engineering candidates in particular. In response, she and her colleagues sent out an interview to applicants during their application process to see what they were thinking and feeling to better understand how to approach them. Today, she'll be sharing her findings with all of us in this webinar. Please join me in welcoming Melissa James, CEO and founder of the Tech Connection.
Yay! Ryan, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. That person sounds awesome. I'd love to meet her. I guess like when I think about that, it sounds so distant. So it's such a long time that this happened. You know, this person didn't always start out this way. It took me a really long time to really understand the ins and outs of engineering recruitment, and I feel like I've learned a ton, and I'm ready to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I've helped several companies, like Ryan said, like Google, RA Capital, Sample6, and smaller development firms all around the nation, really think about how to take their companies to the next level. When I first started, I was working at a small startup out of MIT. We were a tiny little company, only 7 people, and I was in charge of recruitment. We were sitting there trying to think about how are we going to get more people to join our team? We're only 7 people. We have some ambitious hiring goals over the next couple of months. And what I realized is that, holy smokes, I'm happy to do some recruiting, but I actually don't know how to recruit software engineers. It's something that I've never done before and something that I had to learn for our company. It was something that was essential for our company to grow, and I had to do something about it. So I first kind of started off thinking like, oh, I'll just recruit for software engineers the same way that I would for any other type of engineers. And what I quickly realized is that this is a very different ballgame. I went through a time where people weren't responding to my emails. Weeks would go by before I would hear anything back. And it was frustrating because my manager was waiting for me to come up with all of these engineers in our pipeline. Now, after years of experience messaging different types of candidates, building recruitment processes from scratch, I've learned that there's actually a couple of key things that we need to do in order for our recruitment strategy to be successful. I've now recruited for over 10 elite tech companies and have been bringing top technical talent from across the US to different brands, from Fortune 500 companies to small startups. And I realized that there's a couple of things that I was doing wrong before that I just need to tell other people about, because this, I'm sure, is the same mistake that everybody else is making. My processes have been written about several times. I was written about in the Bay State Banner, Bloomberg Business, and the Boston Herald. I even was reached out. I even had the Harvard Business School reach out to me to help me replicate my model. It all changed. This model is something that I think is extremely valuable and really important. It all changed when I started working at my first company, and I realized that recruiting is something that I have to do on my own, and I have to figure out how we're going to take it from us just being a tiny little team to a high growth organization. So how does tech recruitment truly differ than other types of recruiting? Well, the first thing to notice is that tech recruiting is very, very different, because less than 2% of software engineers are unemployed, which means they're happy, they're in their jobs, they're getting paid a good salary, and they really aren't looking for new opportunities. During this time, as I was reaching out to candidates, I figured this out. None of them were responding to my emails at first. It's because they were happy at their jobs. But as we all know, at some point, happy today could mean sad tomorrow, could mean I'm ready to leave my company a couple of days later. However, it's all about timing when you reach out to some of these candidates. Reaching out to software engineers is very important. They get inundated with over 50 emails per day from any recruiter telling them that this is the best company to come and work for, you have an amazing culture, you've got the snacks, the benefits, the unlimited vacation time, whatever those perks are that your company offers, they've heard them all before, unfortunately. So at some point, they start to think that every company just seems like a blur, and thinking about benefits isn't the end all be all for deciding on whether or not to come and work at your company. So how do you gain their interest? If it's not about the benefits, it's not about the compensation, how do you actually get a software engineer to really sink their teeth in and want to engage with you? Well, what I learned is when you message them, you've got one shot to get their attention. Nowadays, several engineers will actually have an alternative email address just for recruitment. So the off chance that they might be checking that email, you want to make sure that you grab their attention pretty quickly. It's not about compensation. It's not about the benefits or the perks. What they care about is the mission of your organization. They want to know that if I'm coming from one company and moving to the next, that I'm having an impact, that I'm changing the world in a positive way. Some of our clients are making a huge impact in the food industry, helping to making food healthy and safe for us to eat. Some of our other clients are figuring out ways to create business opportunities for small venture capitalist deals. There are so many different types of ways that an engineer can be excited about work. So telling your unique story about the mission of your organization is key. That can loop them in and get them excited about leaving, potentially to come to your company. What I also found was that it was important to ask a question in the email subject line. Why? Because that's something that's different. That's something that they don't see very often. Oftentimes, as a recruiter, I would write things like, oh, exciting opportunity at Google, exciting opportunity at the Tech Connection. And guess what? It's not that exciting, because everybody is writing the same thing in their subject line. Keeping your subject line short, concise, and to the point is a way to make it more engaging, and they're more likely to open it. Sometimes in some of my emails, I might even have the first sentence be a potentially to come to your company. What I also found was that it was important to ask a question in the email subject line. Why? Because that's something that's different. That's something that they don't see very often. Oftentimes, as a recruiter, I would write things like, Oh, exciting opportunity at Google, exciting opportunity at the Tech Connection. And guess what? It's not that exciting because everybody is writing the same thing in their subject line. Keeping your subject line short, concise, and to the point is a way to make it more engaging, and they're more likely to open it. Sometimes in some of my emails, I might even have the first sentence be a short little joke, like, "Thank you for opening my email. I promise to keep this short and sweet." From there, I continue on and tell them a little bit more about why this mission for the company that we're representing is so cool and different than everything else on the market. I sometimes even like to highlight who the manager is on the team, telling them a little bit more about the manager's previous experience, what things they're working on for this next year, so that they can really sink their teeth in to the project that they'll be working on. Because when you're not looking at compensation and when benefits don't matter, what does matter are the people that you're going to be working with. So putting that up front in the email can be super helpful in deciding on whether or not you want to engage with this company. Lastly, what I realized is that I would write these long, well, what I like to call love letters, because they're something that are thoughtful, something that you really put some time and energy into to really engage this particular engineer. I realized that sometimes when I would send these messages, I'd only get a response that said, "Cool, sounds good, call me anytime." And at first I thought they didn't actually really care. I was like, what? I wrote this really long message and all I got back was a short little clip that just said, "Cool, sounds good, call me anytime." Does that mean you're interested? Are you curious? I'm not really sure. But what I later realized that I shouldn't take it personal. Their brevity isn't necessarily to be mean. It's not saying that they're not interested. It's saying they're open to the call. He said it was cool. He said, "Give me a call," and gave me their phone number. So you call and have the conversation and really try to get them excited about your new opportunity. I just want to make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page and that we're all taking down these key important notes, because you want to make sure that as you're reaching out and getting the interest of some of these software engineers, you want to have these key points in your email so that they're excited about your job opportunity. Does anyone have any questions right now? Okay, cool. Well, I'll just keep going. If anyone has any questions, please use the Q&A feature, and Ryan will Ryan will read them off so that we can make sure that everyone's getting the most out of this webinar. Great. So the next thing to focus on is really making sure that when you have the interest of a software engineer, that you move forward asking them some really great questions, making sure that they understand what they'd be actually doing in this particular role. So when you're talking to a software engineer, it's not just about, do they want to come and work at your company? It's, well, what technical experience do they have? They might write that they have HTML and CSS and JavaScript. However, if they're coming to your company, what's most important is knowing how recently have they used HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And also, in what way did they use HTML and JavaScript? Making sure that you understand some of the ways that they've engaged with these programming languages will be extremely valuable to you, as it'll get the engineer, one, excited to tell you about their projects. Two, it's a great way for you to learn more about programming languages. And lastly, you'll be able to ask them to tell you a little bit more about a project that they've worked on. As they're describing the project to you, you want to understand, are they able to explain to me this project in terms that I can understand? Can they really engage me so that I can understand the basics of what they're trying to do? If they can do all of that, they've got excellent leadership skills, excellent communication skills, and that's something that's really important to me. So as you think about ways to engage with software engineers, it's not just getting them through email, it's getting them excited in person, telling them a little bit more about your team, telling them about the specific roles that they'd be working on. And lastly, the thing that most engineers get most excited about is hearing what's the growth opportunity for me if I come to this company. Believe it or not, engineers care about their growth. They want to be learning new programming skills. They want to be able to take their skills to the next level. And if your company can provide that to them, that's something that's unique and that's something that you can't get everywhere else. So when you're reaching out to different candidates and looking to engage with them and get them excited about your opportunity, make sure that you're ready to talk about where your company is currently, how they'd be able to add value, and lastly, where is the company going so that you can actually show to them that if they join your team, they're making a career move that will help them take their career to the next level. Are there any other questions at this time?
Yeah, I've got a few questions here.
Cool. Go ahead.
The first one is, how do you identify the right fit for your team? And as a leader, like what qualities and characteristics do you look for?
That's a great question. So when you're looking for someone to join your team, especially a software engineering candidate, you're looking to see, one, do they have the right technical skills? We have to ask them, when was the last time that you used this programming language? How did you use it? Was it in college or was it on your most recent project? We all know that telltale story of someone writing that they've done something, but it was actually several years ago. So making sure that they're able to explain to you how they were able to use this particular technology is extremely important. As a software engineer recruiter, I've always noticed that some software engineers are a little bit more shy. So really trying to engage in the technical components of their projects and having them explain it to you can be super helpful because that's what they get excited about. They get excited about projects that they've worked on. Things that they've done outside of the office are oftentimes the most interesting conversations. I've had engineers tell me about projects that they've worked on just for fun. For example, when I was doing an interview the other day, I was talking to a candidate and they told me about how they wanted to do a data visualization project. They ended up taking information about housing rents across the nation and comparing that to the median income across the nation for these particular cities. Comparing those two data points helped her to figure out a project where essentially she was trying to understand, hey, is rent really affordable based off of your income in the top 50 cities to live in? It was an interesting project. It's something I had never really thought about before, but it was something that this software engineer was curious about. They did the work, they did the research, and essentially she was able to show me in a quick website, this is what she was able to find. She walked me through each step of the project, how she gathered the data, how she organized it, how she put together the algorithm, and then how she deployed it. That is such an interesting project that I never would have thought of before. Maybe she might not have had that opportunity to do it at work, but her interest in wanting to do something outside of work shows her initiative and her willingness to go above and beyond to find out new resources and new skills that she might not be getting in the office. That's the type of engineer that I would want to hire.
Cool. Ready for some more questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Let's say like you're put up between like a rock and a hard place and you have to decide between like costs and expertise. Which area are you willing to sacrifice if you don't have the funds?
Well, that's actually a really great question. Where would I sacrifice if I don't have the funds? Well, this is the common dilemma in software engineering recruitment because a lot of software engineers have very competitive salaries, often starting at $70, $80, $90,000 a year, which can be a bit expensive for some companies. So if you have to choose between cost and expertise, I would say you never want to sacrifice on both. However, you do have to be reasonable in understanding the market of what you're looking for. So if you want someone that has 3 to 5 years of experience, you have to be willing to spend about $90,000 at least for getting that candidate. That's something that if it's not in your budget, then you really need to think about, okay, well, how can we structure the team so that when we do hire someone, maybe we can't hire 3 people at $90,000, but maybe we can hire 1 senior person at $90,000 and then hire 2 junior developers at $70,000, and we can structure it that way. Really thinking about how to build out your team structure is extremely important so that you're making sure that you're finding the right talent for your team and staying within your budget. So think about ways that you can structure seniority with junior developers as a way to find the right type of fit for your budget. That's a great question. Any other questions, Ryan?
Yeah, here's an interesting one. How do you know when to fire someone?
Oh, when to fire an engineer? Well, if the engineer isn't showing up on time, then that's a good reason to let them go. However, you do have to give them the opportunity to actually improve their performance. We often assume that they know exactly what they need to do, and that's just simply not there. You have to have a conversation with the engineer to understand, hey, what are some of the challenges that are going on? What are some of the things that I don't know about that I could better help you with so that you can be more successful in your role? Having those conversations is a great way to at least try to give the engineer an opportunity to explain what might be happening. If you feel like this has been going on for a long time, that this isn't the right fit, then you do have to put them on a performance improvement plan where you essentially give them specific metrics that you would like them to follow. You check in on them weekly to ensure that they're staying on target and on pace. And if for some reason at the end of that, you would essentially say after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, we'll check back in to see where you are. If no improvement has happened or it's the situation has gotten worse, that's the appropriate time where you can move towards transitioning away from that engineer. Some companies are actually very nice. They'll give engineers maybe a severance package or try to give them referrals to other companies. It really depends on the situation. At the end of the day, every engineer and every candidate is a person. So you just never know what they might be going through. And you want to make sure that you're able to be understanding of their situation and be a great resource or friend, because a lot of the junior engineers that you might be working with today could grow up to be amazing CTOs and chief information officers in the future.
All right, it looks like we've got one last question here for you.
Cool.
How do you get people interested if you can't pay them up front, like in a startup sort of situation?
Well, that's where your mission is going to really, really be important. I do believe that a lot of software engineers, one of the things that we actually got back from our survey was that engineers were overwhelmed by the amount of interesting projects that are happening right now in our cities. People are coming up with new and creative ideas every day. So what to do if they're interested and you can't pay them upfront? Oftentimes, startups do have to give up equity to really see whether or not this engineer would be willing to work for less money, but for a bigger stake in the company. Some of the tactics that I've seen small companies do is let's sit down and do a short-term project where we pay you a small amount of money. We say, we'll work on a project for 2 to 3 weeks. I want to learn more about you. You can learn more about me. I'll pay you a small sum, maybe 1,000, 2,000, whatever's in your budget. And then from there, essentially, we'll say, let's sit down, let's do this project together. Based off of that, we can decide whether or not we can further this engagement and take it to the next level. So I think that's a really great cost-effective way where you can get to know each other. You don't have to hire them or quote unquote get married to an engineer if it doesn't work out, but it's a good way for you to learn more about them and their best practices and for them to learn more about you and how you like to structure your team. These are such great questions. I'm so glad. Ryan, are those all the questions for today?
Yeah, that's all we've got right now.
Great. Well, these are really great questions, and I'm so glad that we were able to chat. And just to let you guys know, you're not alone in this process. Every recruiter is going through the same exact thing. They're having a difficult time pulling in new talent. It's something that takes a long time, and even software engineers that I know had have gone through this process. And when they have to recruit for their own companies or they become CTOs, they go, oh my gosh, Melissa, I had no idea it was this hard to get other engineers to find us interesting. So of course you can go home. You've gotten so many great resources. You can do this yourself. You can, write up your own email, send them out, make sure that you can try to engage with them. But if you feel like you need some help or some resources, don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you. Companies that have worked with us in the past have found that they hire 70% of the candidates that we present. Our method works. They have so many great things to say about us. Engineers are now reaching out to us because they understand that when we're representing a client, we're representing the right types of clients that are interested in the development of software engineers. Our companies that reach out to us actually have really great things to say about us too. Just recently, one of our recent clients said the Tech Connection was extremely thorough and thoughtful. As a CEO, I wasn't exactly sure what I needed in employees, and the Tech Connection was extremely helpful when I needed advice about who might be a good fit for my team. They made something I had built up with so much anxiety an enjoyable and exciting experience. This is what we do. We are excellent at recruiting software engineers, bringing in new talent, making sure that there's a great fit between the employer and the candidate. This is something that we'd be happy to help you do. You don't have to go through this alone. So for those of us that are on the call today, we're actually offering a discount of 50% to help companies that need this type of support. Your initial assessment will be us going over your company mission and goals, writing up these emails for you, telling you our secret sauce, because we've only given you just a tidbit here on this call, at a reduced rate if you sign up today. If you sign up today, you'll pay $1,000 and we'll sit down and help you go through this process in depth, tailored to your organization, tailored to your job opportunity, so that you can make sure that you're hiring today and not 6 months from now, because the average time to fill software engineering roles right now is 60 days. Do you have 60 days to waste? Do you have hiring goals that you need to get done? If so, please reach out to us if you want to accelerate your recruitment hiring. And please keep in mind that for the state of Massachusetts, 50% of software engineering roles went unfilled because they weren't able to engage software engineers in this process. We'd be happy to help you to alleviate any stress or anxiety that could happen during this process. Please feel free to reach out to us. If you haven't already, we are launching a new app that we cannot wait for. Our new app will have a plethora of software engineers that are actively looking for new job opportunities right in our database. If you're an employer looking for new opportunities, looking for new candidates, and wanting to have an easier way to have access to them, please sign up on our website, www.thetechconnectioninc.com. From there, you can sign up. One of our team members, Ryan, will reach out to you to make sure that we're really understanding your hiring needs. We'll sit down, do the initial assessment, get you started as quickly as possible. And if you'd like to sign up for our special offer today, please email us at partnerships@techconnectioninc.com.